You know, it's crazy. I get asked this question a lot. And there's really no simple answer for it. There's no real answer in general. All I can really do is share my story with you and share how I did it. So I'm gonna be completely straight up with you. The methods I used might not work for you. It really just depends on how motivated you are to really make a change from your everyday life to something completely unknown. So when I decided to move to New York, I gave myself 10 months to move here. I know most people probably would plan a year, 2 years, but I decided that we decided we were gonna do this within 10 months. The first real challenge or obstacle, whatever you want to call it, I would say would be the negative comments we received when we decided to tell our friends and family, hey, we're moving to New York, January of next year. And their faces went from, to what? It's crazy to me how something so positive in my life and something I was so excited for suddenly became this topic of negativity. People start asking crazy questions. Where are you gonna live? What are you gonna do for work? Are you gonna keep your car? Are you gonna sell it? Did you know that New York has winters and it snows up there? I mean, like the craziest questions people would ask me. So the first thing you're really gonna deal with is a lot of negativity, and you're really gonna have to hustle through that. It's gonna test you, and there are gonna be times where you're gonna be like, damn, do I really wanna do this? Am I making the right decision? Because people can be convincing. But let me just say something. I feel like every time someone's negative about someone's decision to better their life, it's because they're jealous that they're not doing the same thing, or because they regret not making a decision like that earlier on in their lives. So you really just gotta shut out the noise and get to work. Those 10 months were the most challenging part of moving to New York. Actually, getting here was not challenging because of all the work we put in for 10 months. Working overnight, double shifts, not sleeping, barely eating, driving one car that was so busted and broken. Our friends would make fun of us. Why don't you just get a new car? I don't understand. But they didn't know that we were hustling behind the scenes trying to make this move happen. Really want to move somewhere like New York. It is expensive. It's not cheap here. I'm gonna keep it 100. It's not everything everyone's telling you is true. But the thing is, you can make it simple on yourself if you work hard wherever you're living now. Another challenge that comes up that I get asked a lot about is, well, how do you figure out where you're gonna live, right? And this is actually a fair question because New York is not like a lot of states, okay? A lot of states have cities. Where I'm from, you have different cities. You know, I lived in Florida, so you can live in Miami, Orlando, you know, and you have a car, you know, you can go visit. New York is a little different because of the boroughs, I think, really throw people off. It threw me off anyway. And so you have, you know, Manhattan, you have lower and upper Manhattan, then you have Bronx, you have Brooklyn, you have Queens, Long Island, upstate, you have a lot of options. And so I think the best thing is no one's gonna be able to say, okay, you should move to this part of New York. You really gotta kind of decide what's gonna work best for you. Maybe you're moving here for job opportunities, so if your job's in Brooklyn, you might wanna move to Brooklyn, vice versa if you wanna live in Manhattan. So we actually made the decision to move to Upper Manhattan, mainly because that's kind of where we found an apartment that would work best for us in our price range. We were really open to living anywhere. You guys know I work from home, so as far as commuting places, it really wasn't an issue where we live necessarily. So I would say some of the life adjustments that I've had to make since living in New York would be transportation. So you gotta kind of get used to taking the train everywhere, right? Or the subway. Most people don't move to New York with their car. Personally, I wouldn't recommend it, but you know, you got to do what's best for you and your financial situation. To me, it's kind of silly because for parking, insurance, and if you have a car payment, you might as well be paying us for a second apartment at that point because things get very expensive, and if you can cut your cost anywhere, I would say don't bring a car. Learn to take the subway system. It's very simple, it's very easy. I actually personally enjoy taking the subway. Once you kind of learn the directions the train goes, the numbers and letters, you're good to go. Some other, you know, life adjustments would be weather changes. So I don't know where you're moving from. I moved from Southwest Florida. When I say it's hot, I mean it's hot 24/7. You don't get a white Christmas. You don't get a break. If it breaks below 50, you will see a ton of people outside wearing boots and coats. And I know Northerners make fun of us, but to us that's cold, okay? When you're used to being 90 all the time and it gets below 50, it is like night and day. So the weather changes for me. I was just excited to, you know, see fall and winter, but you definitely do need to be prepared. So for me, when I moved up here, we brought a moving truck and all that kind of stuff. We actually flew, and then we had a moving truck come up here. But we ended up not bringing a ton of stuff. We kind of started over, if that makes sense. But definitely get used to the area you live in, because when we moved here, we just went to a mall and bought all our stuff there. And the stuff, you know, it was the price of regular mall clothes. It added up, it got a little expensive. Your girl likes to shop, I don't know what to say, okay? But if I had learned my area a little bit better, I would have found more local boutiques that have the same stuff I already bought for a lot cheaper. I could have got a lot more quantity of clothes for the same price and the same quality. So, you know, wherever you live, when you move here, if you know you need to buy new clothes or you need to do your shopping, learn your area. Another mistake I made was for a year, okay? I've only lived in New York for a year and like 8 months now, but for a whole year, I shopped at this one grocery store. You guys, I hated this grocery store. It is so tiny and crowded, and everybody's on top of everyone, and it smells so bad by the meat section. Like, I'm pretty sure somebody actually died back there. That's how bad it smells. They actually closed it down for a period of time and then like revamped it and brought it back, and it still sucks. So my point being, a whole year, one day I was out for a walk and I discovered a grocery store, right? A whole nother one I'd never seen before. This grocery store is literally like 2 blocks from me, like going up. And it was like night and day. I found the most wonderful grocery store. And if I had just explored rather than sticking to one thing that was next to me, I wouldn't have had to be so miserable for a year. So it's kind of silly, but definitely go out, learn your area, get to know it. This is your home now. I think that's the thing about moving to New York, right? When I first got here, it felt like a vacation for the first month. Like, oh my gosh, let's go explore the city. Let's go see what's going on. But I, like, seriously, like, after a month, it was like, oh my God, like, I live here. Like, I just paid my rent. Like, this isn't a joke. This is very serious. And I think, I'm starting to think that's why a lot of people move back, because they get so just enjoying life here. They don't realize that you live here. This is not a vacation. This is not a place you just come to hang out. If you're moving to New York, you're moving here because you want to hustle, you have goals to meet, and they say if you make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And since being here for over a year, I definitely can attest to that, and I definitely agree that if you make it here, you can make it literally anywhere. So I would say some of the crazy things I've seen in New York since being here, I mean, honestly, that list is so long. Whether it's naked people walking through the subway, yes, I have seen that. Or, you know, just people acting absolutely fools on the actual subway, fights breaking out. I mean, people are a little crazy in New York. Something else crazy for me was the amount of rats that are here. And I was not prepared for this at all. I would say rats are like the cockroaches of New York. In Florida, we get a lot of cockroaches. In New York, you guys got mice and rats. So I did get one mouse in my apartment, and I remember freaking out so much because it freaked me out. I called my super, he came and took care of it, which was super sweet, but I was like not prepared at all for mice being in the house. So that was a big adjustment. And then also, if you take the subway, just prepare yourself. People talk about New York rats a lot, but they're like residents of New York. Like they live here too. They're people too. And most of the time, you'll see them like on the floor of the subway, like where the subway comes. But occasionally, they feel like getting a little frisky, and they'll come on the platform with you. And I distinctively remember one time I was waiting for my train at 125th Street. If you live in New York, you know kind of where I'm talking about. I was waiting for the A train, you know, minding my business. And I look over out of the corner of my eye, I just see a rat like this big, and the tail was like the same length as the body. It was huge, the size of a chihuahua, I swear. And it was just sitting there, but it wasn't sitting like on its 4 feet. It was like sitting up, like propped up. Like, I don't know what was about to happen. I was freaked out. It was gross, and it scared me. And I was like, please don't come near me. Please don't come near me. Please don't come near me. I'm just standing there, right? All of a sudden, this drunk guy comes walking towards the rat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's about to happen. I just had a bad feeling. And I couldn't really move anywhere at this point, because if I go this way, I'm gonna hit the rat and the drunk person, and I can't go this way because I'm already at the end of the platform. So I'm just like SOL, like stuck waiting. But this homeless guy who was drunk is walking up to the rat, and he has a chain in his hand, and he's like, you know, waving the chain like this. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. He takes the chain and, like, you know, twists it up and whacks the rat right across the platform into the ditch of the subway, and you just hear this. I almost threw up. I almost threw up. But you know what? That just kind of became one of those things that you got used to. Like, you see a rat on the platform, you're just like, okay. You see a drunk man trying to kill it, okay. I mean, it's crazy to me how much I've adjusted to just being like, what else is new? When my family comes to visit, you know, my mom's always talking about how, like, crazy people are. She's like, oh my gosh, I saw this or I saw that. And I was like, oh, just another day for me. Every day on the subway, you're gonna see something crazy. And listen, you keep your head down, put your headphones in, mind your business, and you'll be good to go. That's the thing. New York, nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody's really your friend. People wanna hustle, get to work, get home, do their thing. That's just how it is. I hope this kind of helped answer your question on how it's like moving to New York, what it was like for me. This is a series I'm really excited to start with you guys. So starting next week, I'm gonna talk about what do you do when the adrenaline of moving wears off. Bye guys.